Awesome. I think you were live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to another Gem Session webinar series. I'm Cecilia Curi, growth marketer and specialist at Rock Content, and I'll be your host for today's Gem Session. So, as you already know, the Gem Session is a series of live videos interviews hosted by a rock featuring an iconic figure from the marketing or sales world. And today I'm going to talk with an incredible reference of the digital agency market, and I'm very excited with this opportunity because our guest today holds a long time experience as an expert in SEO, customer service, and digital marketing, having served over 1,000 customers in the last decade. He's a founding member, partner, and SEO director at Agency Jet, creating and facilitating custom plans for each client in SEO, web development and design, social media, and more. So, welcome, Kobe Wachter.
Hey, thanks, Celia.
Thank you for being with us today, Kobe. So, first of all, I would like you to tell me about your career in digital marketing. How did you begin working with SEO?
Sure, yeah, Cecilia. Really, I kind of just fell into it. So I did not go to school for marketing. I didn't really start out in marketing too crazy early. I actually went to school to be a teacher, but just kind of decided that that wasn't for me, and then started writing content for an digital reputation agency that was more focused on individuals' online reputations as opposed to business reputations. So just started writing content there, felt like I had a skill for it, and then had some customer service background that I pulled over. So then I started talking with clients directly, and from there the rest is history. I've basically been in client SEO customer service ever since.
Cool. Your story. It's similar to mine. I also engaged to a career in economy, and
Okay.
then I didn't feel like it was for me. So here I am.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it just kind
So,
of falls naturally. So
yeah, it falls naturally, and I think that it was a great choice for us. So, you
mhm.
made me wonder. In recent years, we have seen several changes and developments in digital marketing, but search engine optimization is still considered one of the most reliable methods to drive traffic to websites, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, could you give us an overview of the current market moment for agencies? What are the main issues marketing agencies need to pay attention to for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously the landscape shifts all the time, right? So that's the biggest challenge to our industry is how to keep up. And something we tell our clients, just to explain our role, is that hey, we're never going to be shoulder to shoulder with Google or another search engine. They're the one driving the car, right? We're just trying to sit a little bit behind them with our hand on their shoulder. If we can at least touch them, or we're within touching distance of how the search engine is going, then we feel pretty fortunate, right? So what that really means is we're not using incredibly old tactics anymore, or we're not stuck in our ways. You have to be really agile. So when it comes to giving advice on 2023 and that sort of stuff, I could get crazy technical, and maybe we'll touch on some of those things, but I'm more of like a back to basics kind of thing. So, if you're producing content or if you're building links or whatever, there's really no point in doing any of that if you're trying to do everything or if you're trying to talk to everyone, right? So what's made us really successful, especially with our inbound marketing and then custom plans for clients, is asking a ton of questions. Who is your target audience? What are your top margin items? That sort of stuff. So really, when it comes to trends and marketing moments, I would say make sure you can answer those questions first before you go into others. So, and that's how we've been so successful, because if you do a one size fits all approach and you're not really customizing or getting specific, it doesn't matter how good the work is. If it doesn't have a focus, I just don't think it's really going to perform for you.
Yeah, this makes perfect sense. After all, customers are people who would like to identify it not only with the company but also with its services and purpose, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's why we ask our customers a ton of questions, right? I would say we ask our customers more questions than they ask us, because if we don't know what their goals are, if we don't know what their history of marketing their website is, if we don't know when they expect results, right? If they want sales in 2 months, then maybe we need to talk about a different solution than SEO, that sort of thing, right? Because you have to build that credibility organically. So it really comes down to what they need, and then we really try and mold our plans and our strategies around their needs, if that makes sense.
Awesome. But Kobe, despite of this, we all know marketers need to follow SEO trends to rank number one on Google search. There are always many updates, and it can be easy to miss what is relevant because of all the algorithm updates and etc.
Right.
So, so this is a problem that you probably have to face every day, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do agencies need to consider to have great results with SEO for next year?
Yeah. Well, I would say, especially if you're just starting out in SEO, or you start your own agency, that sort of stuff. I would strongly advise against being reactive because there's actually a saying out there. I'm not the originator. I can't recall who wrote it, but it's the greatest skill in SEO is patience, right? So if you're really trying to, at the moment an algorithm update comes out or the moment something's announced and you're trying to pivot, I would kind of argue that your core strategy really isn't that strong because most of the stuff that comes out, and so I guess to give applicable advice, I would absolutely subscribe to things like Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land, even competitors' sites. Like we're a smaller agency, but WebFX is huge, or Straight North, or whoever, right? Subscribe to their blogs. They're writing about that stuff daily. And I think just the more information you have, the better you can move forward with it. So as long as you have those updates that are coming to you regularly, then try and avoid that reactivity, because if you read those things and you take them on a large sample size versus just one article about one update or so on, and you look at the whole of those articles over, say, a 2, 3, 6 month period, they almost all say the same thing. Google announced this change. Here's what it impacts. Here's some things to look out for. But then they almost always kind of end those articles, for the most part, with, so long as you're already doing white hat SEO work, or so long as you're already following Google's webmaster guidelines, or they call it search essentials. So long as you're doing those things, then there's really nothing crazy to react to, right? Unless you were using dated concepts before that. So I think really how we serve our clients and just our own SEO is we're doing a pretty good job of, okay, what's really important, what actually does change our strategies, and what is just a good to know, right? And there's really no benefit in being crazy reactive from those algorithm changes, at least on like a monthly basis, because SEO, quality SEO, is consistent work for several months, right? Versus 1 month of change. So so long as you're aware of it and then know that your strategy is modern and not crazy dated, I think it's just really, okay, what do we need to make small fixes for? But most of the time, again, those articles will say, if you're following our rules, just continue to do so. And this is an algorithm update that is either core or specific, and then you adjust accordingly if necessary.
Okay, so would you say that white hat SEO it's one of the things that we need to focus on or always have in mind that we need to do that good?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see. I'm making an assumption already. I would say if you're starting an SEO agency or you're young in the SEO agency, if you're doing black hat SEO work, I can't personally recommend that. Right? It is something that, okay, cheating your way to the top almost never works. I had a call with a colleague of mine earlier today, and they even said the words silver bullet. Right? That doesn't exist. Like there is no such thing in SEO in terms of you're going to get to the top with just one change. Like we preach against that. We don't work with clients who believe in that, right? We give everybody a chance to understand our process. But if we're working with each other for a handful of months and we're still looking for some sort of silver bullet, we know, you know what, it's all right. There's 40,000 agencies in the US. We can recommend a few. we're really about the long haul. So yeah, the short answer though is white hat SEO to me is an absolute given. I think if you play by Google's rules, you get rewarded for it. But it kind of goes back to that original sentiment of the greatest skill in SEO is patience. If you don't have patience, then white hat SEO and just proper SEO in general is probably not for you, because you need a whole lot of that to actually see those long-term results, right? We're talking years worth of work, not 6 months. right?
Awesome. I totally agree with you. And when you mentioned silver bullets, just took me to my old job in 2010, working on specific topics to cover on my SEO tasks to do so. So, anyways, I'm taking a lot of notes here because you're giving a masterclass on this subject for me and our audience. Thank you very much for that. And I want to delve deeper into this topic because I know that Google seems to work on SERP by improving user experience and prioritizing good content.
Mhm.
So, what do you think that are the major Google updates when we talk about content quality?
Yeah, that's in prep for this. I actually was kind of thinking like, what are the major updates by name, right? So they're the helpful content update back in August of this year, the page experience update. Like the thing with algorithm updates, at least the way we approach it, is even if they're targeting a specific item, right, like page speed or something like that,
Mhm.
we see it as the larger whole of the whole point of doing well in Google should really be prioritizing who are you trying to speak to at the end, right? So white hat SEO is permeates through that whole thing. But if you do white hat SEO and you don't have an end user in mind, another word for it would be buyer persona, right? Like who would
Yeah.
buy your SEO services or digital
Mhm.
marketing services, whatever. If you don't know the answer to that, none of this stuff really matters, even if you do it right. So um, the helpful content update, page experience update, I would say mobile friendly update, obviously, just making sure your website's responsive and fits to all screens and loads quickly. That sort of stuff is in the technical SEO realm, we would kind of consider par for the course, so to speak. So if you were to really take those as a given, your website loads quickly, fits to all screens, your content is unique. That's also very important. Copying and pasting from elsewhere, of course, it's not helpful because somebody already did it. So you're just reiterating, right? Um,
Mhm.
so I would say to take that the 2.0 level is answer that question first. Who's our target audience? Who are we really trying to target? Because a lot of our competitors, for instance, we talk to other agencies and it's okay. It's a natural human response, but they don't want to link to competitors. They don't want to give a ton of resources that aren't their own, so on and so forth. And we're the reverse, right? We're a small
Mhm.
agency. I personally cannot write a 5,000 word blog post every day or even every week, and I can't do white papers and I can't do a ton of video content and that sort of stuff. But our competitors can. And the whole point of the helpful content update, for instance, is to be resourceful to the reader, right? So, how we make it our own is we use those resources. We link to our competitors all the time, which a lot of people think feels gross, but I love doing it because their content is great. And when we get bigger, we will do our own, right? But in the meantime, I'm trying to help the reader first and foremost. So, um, by doing those things, then if you're being resourceful to the reader, how we make it helpful and unique to us is only speaking to our target audience, right? We serve small businesses. That's what our agency excels at, but we don't serve a Fortune 500 company. So I'm not writing content for the president of Coca-Cola. I'm writing content for a distributor of Coca-Cola products in Tennessee. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference. So that's, I think, without that target audience, if you're trying to speak to everybody, good luck. I think how many millions of searches on Google happen every second. So you're never going to be able to grab all that stuff. You should really only be speaking to one type of person, maybe two, and then use other people for the resource side, but make sure the content you're writing is original and unique and helpful. So
Cool. And it's funny because I would say that most of the marketers I know would say that link to your competitors, link to other blog posts that you are not covering in your own blog would be a bad strategy. So you're saying that that's better do this and not to build your own content if you don't have the capacity or team to do so, right?
sure, sure. Yeah, that's a fantastic follow-up. I would say I'm a big um, advocate for if you don't have the resources, if you are lean, right? So our agency, we hit $1 million with 4 people using that tactic, right? We know a lot of our competitors, they have 20 employees before they hit their first. And a lot of the time they will be saying, well, we do everything in-house, or we wrote all of our own content, or everything we built was from scratch. If you can do that, I highly advocate for it. But I mean, I kind of go back to the original idea of what Google was there for to begin with, is an online encyclopedia, right?
Mhm.
So it's totally fine from our point of view. If we're being resourceful for the user, we're not just trying to fill in links for links' sake, or here's a video for a video's sake. We're doing it because it reinforces a point, and we don't have the resources to say do video production in-house, right? But I still want that video to help a user, because humans are visual creatures. They don't only read, they want to view something, they want to engage, right? Um, so to answer your question more directly, I think it really matters on what you're capable of. If you have an in-house staff that can do all that, and you can make it super helpful, I would always advocate for do all of it under your brand, and make it your own, right? But if you're a small, lean team, which a lot of agencies are, I wouldn't let the basically, to me, scarcity isn't real. So I wouldn't let the thought of, oh, if somebody sees my competitor's site on my site, they're going to go there and buy from them. I just don't see that at all, because the only way they see that link from your site to the competitor is if they got to your site first. So I think that's half the battle, right? I think a lot of people will say 80% of marketing is being there first. Well, if they land on your website first, to me, that's the win right there. And if they're engaging with the content after that, um, if they go to another client's website because of a link that we created, we're not tracking a ton of those links outwards. And that's something that's just a personal decision for us. But I'm never going to know that they bought from somebody else. So ignorance is bliss in that regard. But they did engage in our content, and they
Yeah.
got there because it ranked. They're not going to page 7 of Google. They found our content because it got to page 1. So we're really just trying to build that resource, and the good karma will come out of it, because if they like what they read, then they might be looking at our service pages, and that's the goal.
That makes totally sense, and I think that this kind of mindset is it's very healthy for our Latin American agencies partnership team, because
Yeah,
we can get a lot of inspiration thinking in this way, not
yeah,
being crazy to be the only source of content and links and etc. Because, as you said, ignorance is a bliss, because you already had the audience engaging to your content and trusting in you and what you're saying that is good. So Kobe, you mentioned video in your answer, so I really want to know, what do you think about Google's short videos? How can agencies work with this strategy to rank high on SERP?
yeah. Google Short. See, because we're a small agency, that's a good question. Yeah, what I will say is, I think it's just a natural kind of integration further into the market of engaging with customers. So I'll tell you, Cecilia, we don't use Google Shorts personally. We don't use a ton of video content in general, strictly because of our size. We obviously know how positive it can be and that sort of stuff, but we're from an agency where we don't have investors. We started with a credit card and one client, right? Like, every single thing we've done has been bootstrapped, and we've built a lot of really successful, I guess, strategies for ourselves personally along the
Cool.
way, that we know video is the next logical step for us,
Mhm.
probably late 2023 to early 2024. But that's just dependent on our size. If you have the size, Google Shorts, any social media, obviously, like, when it comes to SEO, I think there is a ton of credence in making sure you are giving a lot of value before you're asking for anything. So I think, like, long form blogs, white papers, that sort of stuff is really helpful. But in terms of engaging, I think Google Shorts is fantastic, right? TikTok's fantastic. Facebook stories, Instagram stories, fantastic. So that sort of stuff I would highly recommend. And just because we have kind of a more streamlined, lean way to reach our clients right now, I say this to clients a lot, just to get them thinking with their business, is SEO is one spoke on the marketing wheel, right? When was the last time you rode a bicycle with a single spoke in the wheel? There are multiple things you're using simultaneously, to make sure that you can be as presenting your brand in the best light possible. And I think Google Shorts is just another opportunity for that, honestly. And that's coming from someone who doesn't use it at all, but it is very
You
clear.
don't have a TikTok?
No, no. You see, I'm like right on the edge. I'm one of the old millennials. So I'm a self-proclaimed like agnostic social media in this industry. So I'm all about kind of organic website traffic versus like social engagement. But we have very talented people on staff who love social, right? And
Yeah.
that's what makes our team so special.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't have a TikTok account either, but I always say that to my team and to my fellow colleagues that
Mhm.
that it's not because TikTok is trending and that's a lot of content and a lot of people and a lot of influencers doing so that your company, your agency has to invest on this kind of content. So that's not that's not really the point if your audience is not there watching this kind of short videos.
Right.
So
And can I piggyback on what you were saying? If I can
sure,
ask you a question, Cecilia, would you say
sure.
to me that sort of level of engagement, at least from an SEO perspective, if somebody doesn't know who you are, I think organic is one of the best ways to grab their attention. But once you have them, they're not all going to be a hot lead or a buyer right away. So I feel like that sort of stuff is a good way to re-engage with them. And something we notice and a lot of our clients notice is about pages and who we are pages are getting so much more traffic these days. People are looking, who are the
Really?
people behind this? Why would I work with them? So I kind of see like TikTok and Google Shorts as an opportunity to more personalize the
To
side of the business.
present your team, to present the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, like I don't know, like if you have a pool table in your office or something, and like it's not necessarily resourceful content, but it speaks to potential prospect of, yeah, there are real people working on this and personalizing it. So I was just kind of curious what you thought about that.
Well, I don't know the data, but I agree with you because when I started working with marketing, this was the kind of content that I was most interested in to understand who were the people behind this kind of this company that I like. As you
Mhm.
can see, we can mention the Twitter thing that it's happening right now.
Yeah,
So
right. Crazy time to be. I got rid of Twitter this morning. Just remove the app from my phone. I need a little hiatus from it, just for a little bit.
see,
Yeah.
that's it. So if you know what's behind the company, maybe you will be more able to buy for of it or will even create an account for that. But when you will mention the uh, who we are pages, right? The
Yeah.
pages that we present the team. I don't know if makes sense that we build like another strategy like in short videos with this kind of content
Mhm.
because I don't know if like agencies could be more close to their customers with this kind of contents. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the difficulty is like just putting that content out there. Um, you really kind of almost have to make the relationship first. I think that's the difficulty, right?
Hmm.
Because if you have the relationship, I can see that content being extremely useful. But if you're talking to a stranger who hasn't engaged with your brand before or hasn't taken advantage of a prior resource, or even better, spoken to somebody at your company, I think that stuff doesn't hit as much. So maybe the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Compromise. I was going to say coincidence. That's not right. Compromise. Maybe the compromise for it would be having more of that content on the about page itself to give a little bit more personalization to it, as opposed to just a couple of headshots in your mission statement. You can include some of those things just to at least build engagement on the site with, the added benefit of like lowering your bounce rate and adding more time per page and that sort of stuff, just from for instance. But I feel like at least my generation, I'm noticing, is really so much more invested in the people behind the brand before they are actually saying yes to it,
You
right?
would say that this is something that is going is returning right now because I remember in 2000 I believe 14 or 2015 I work in another company, a SaaS company,
Mm.
that we would create content like videos. It's not short videos but long videos like three
Right.
four minutes,
Cool.
saying everything, telling the market everything that we accomplished in that year. Like, we hit that goal, we have this number of people hired, we reached this markets, this countries. So we used to do this kind of content, and I can say that we had a lot of engagement in this kind of content. We had a lot of people on the team were helping on this promotion of the content, because, well, they are there, they are
Yeah.
in the video.
Yeah.
So they like to share it. So, and when we did the report in in January or February, we noticed that because of the sharing of the people that work at that SaaS company, we would we get it more we get it we hit more people and more customers, and we close more contracts because of that kind of content. So this was something that we did in 2015. Would you say that this is some it's a trend that it's coming back?
Well, yeah, I think what you just identified there is actually kind of the crux of the thing because first of all, like again, if you have the ability to do this thing, I don't want to come off as my point of view is take from everybody else. You know what I mean? Like that's if you can create your own original content, that is the point, right?
Mhm.
But the emphasis beyond that is don't just build it to build it. If you don't have a
Mm,
reason for it, then I really don't I would much rather have people prospecting or building links or whatever than just building content to build it. Like if you don't have a purpose for it, you shouldn't do it. Like for us, we actually redesigned our website this year. That was a massive risk on my part because we had built an inbound lead generation engine. And then I said, but this is just a corporate looking site. Like I want it to look like us. And when there's 40,000 agencies, we were just saying similar things to everybody else. I wanted to sound like us. So there wasn't a single sentence on our new site that was from the original site, which is a massive like risk when it comes to all that stuff we built. You basically pause it out because Google has to get reaccustomed to that stuff just from an organic side, right? But we've always done really, really well. And I'll get to the point here in a second, but we've always done really, really well with how we speak to people is the reason we get the clients because we're not out there. Like I went to a networking event not long ago, Cecilia, and I was talking to other people, asking them about their business. I couldn't talk to a single person who could tell me what their business did in less than a minute. And I'm like, that I appreciate the passion, but can you tell me what you do in two sentences?
I think I couldn't.
Yeah, but we're think of the biggest flaw in our business and a lot of, I'm going to sound like you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why do we have him on as a guest? But think of the biggest flaw in our business is we can't control the result because we're not Google, right?
Hmm.
We're only following Google's rules. We're only playing by those search essentials and their webmaster guidelines, whatever you want to call them. We have to follow those rules. We tell our clients that day one. We say we're not magicians. We're not here to reinvent anything. You get a custom strategy, but we're time savers. We're recipe
Right.
followers. We do what we need to do consistently every single month because you don't have the time to do it. We do, and we have the expertise to do it. So to get to the point of why that content would be important, you kind of hit it on the head. Is you said it when you said we notice more contracts, we notice more engagement. You were looking at some sort of data set somewhere that could prove value of that, right? Whereas I feel like at least for our clients who don't understand the digital world yet, and you can't fault them for that because that's why they hired us. But we like to educate our clients on, hey, if you do something for your business, you have to at least have an ability to track it, or you have to have a reason behind it. Because if you're just doing it, you're never, even if it is successful, you can't pinpoint what it was that made it successful,
And
right?
reply it,
Yeah, exactly, and reapply it.
replicate.
So we're really big on educating our clients. That's our mantra: is transparency, education, results. We'll tell you everything. We'll actually help you understand what it is. You don't need to be an SEO expert, but you're at least going to say, "Yep, that's where my ROI came from." And then results should be standard, right? That's yeah. If you're an agency who doesn't get results, you probably won't be an agency for very long, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, again, it's back to basics. If I was to summarize that very long-winded answer, it's like have a point.
Have
Don't
a
do it
point.
unless there's a point and once you do it, monitor it like crazy and see what's working and what isn't, and then tweak accordingly. Right.
Okay, so talking about not building content just to build it, let me ask you. As you said, you need to have a purpose.
Mhm.
You need to understand that user search intention might be a big challenge to marketers, right?
Right.
So, how do you build content based on what users want to find?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think like with intent, if we were to use just kind of the SEO normal speak, you have those four types of search intent. You know, you see them on like SEMrush and stuff: informational, navigational, transactional, and commercial.
Hmm.
Um, what I would say is it very much depends on your business. I'll only speak from an SEO agency's perspective in this case. We're basically living in transactional and commercial because when it comes, you would think informational. You absolutely would, based on what I've said for the last 30 minutes. But when it comes down to it, every single resource we're creating has a call to action at the end of it. And that call to action is low impact, right? So the biggest mistake a young agency, if someone comes to your website from Google for a non-branded term, they searched your service or they had a question and you showed up, which is half the battle, right? But then you're going to lose that conversion if you are in there talking about yourself like crazy. It's
Hmm.
a massive flaw because if you're only talking about yourself, they came there to get free stuff. And now you're talking about selling them. And now you're telling how great they don't care how great you are. They care how good the information is, right?
Hmm.
So if you look at all of our content, it is like it's informational plus is what I would call it because it's informational for like 80% of it. And then the final 20%, we reinforce all of that valuable stuff, like basic concept verbiage stuff with real life examples. Our website's very heavy case study focused. We use screenshots and videos for a ton of like trend lines or, result oriented stuff, and we still don't say agency Jack got this. We just say this is what you could expect from a high quality SEO agency. Well,
Nice.
we're a top 100 agency, so they do the math themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but if you go in there talking about your agency in the first couple paragraphs out of even if it's 20 paragraphs long, if you before you get to paragraph 15, if you talked about yourself, you made a mistake because people are people are looking for free stuff all the time. It's why like people will go nuts for like a free t-shirt or something even if they
Uh
don't
huh.
care what the they don't, it doesn't matter, they want something for free, so you have to go in there with the free information, and if you make the right decision of only speaking to your target audience, they will naturally like what they hear and then contact you after because you left that call to action at the end. So just to summarize, basically in terms of intent, is to me the intent, regardless of informational, navigational, transactional, or commercial, that's industry speak. The intent is they want information that is helpful and free, right?
Hmm.
So give them that 80% of it or more, and then talk about yourself. But like, make sure you talk about yourself enough to get them to do something else. Otherwise, you missed the boat there too. Because if you give them all this information with no call to action, then what was the point of that? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So yeah, I don't know if that fully answers the question, but that's our approach, I guess.
Yeah, it answers, but it reminds me of a case. I don't know if I can set a case, but a story that happens to me. Do you know Morning Brew, the
Mm.
newsletter? You
Yep.
know that
Yep.
I was invited to sign up to their newsletter because a friend were trying to some friends of mine were trying to get a free. I think that were paints, trousers, paints. You know,
And yeah, we
like
call them pants in the
free
States,
clothes.
in most places. Yeah. Free clothes.
Yeah, yeah, free clothes. So I sign up and I started to receive their newsletter, and I want a free T-shirt also. So I
Yeah.
started to invite a lot of friends of mine, and after that, I won the T-shirt. My friends don't. I
Mhm.
win the T-shirt, but was like 2 years ago, and I still read Morning Brew every day because after all this content promotion they did. Um, they show me their value, and the content that they were sharing was good for me and was helpful for my
Yeah.
daily tasks on market as a marketer.
Right. And it
So
should, yeah, and you nailed it too. It should fit what you're trying to sell, right? So like you can
mhm.
give, like, we're an SEO agency, we could give a free t-shirt, but that's not necessarily that helpful.
Yeah, you can do a free ebook.
The free ebook, right? Yeah, exactly. And again, with our limited resources, you know what we do? We give them something free that's part of our sales process anyway, which is a
Mhm.
free audit, right?
Yeah.
Of their website. The difference with our audit compared to our competitors, because that's not an original idea either. Other people do it, right? But we don't charge for it at all. And not only is it a report that they get custom made for them, but we actually talk to them. Our minimum first conversation without even talking about pricing is 2 hours.
Mm.
So that's something where there's immediate value because we're talking to prospects same way you and I are talking. It's very
Mhm.
conversational. They're
Yeah.
not on the hook for anything.
Mhm.
Um, and then when it comes down to it, time is even more valuable than money because it's the only thing you can't get back. You can always go make more money. But if we're going to spend 2 hours with you and not ask you for a sale, chances are we actually care about you more than us, right? So
Mhm.
our one mantra is transparency, education, results. Our other mantra is client first, employee second, investor third. So we could think about ourselves all day, but if we don't have clients, I don't get a salary. So
Yeah.
it's really important for us to put our clients first. We do that before we even present our pricing. In fact, our salespeople, they get reprimanded if they talk about pricing on that first call. A client could ask, or a prospect could ask for it, and we say, no, we should have a second call about that. Today's all about information, right?
Awesome. Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
So, Kobe, another question for you. If an agency has a small team and a low budget to start investing in SEO, what are the crucial ranking factors they need to prioritize to increase presence and authority online? Because in Brazil, I believe that I can say that their main focus is to get more digital authority with a link building strategy, guest posting, and
Mhm.
maybe mapping keywords that make sense for the market they want to target, but that keywords were currently very competitive. So, what do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing too. We kind of start our strategies with keywords just because that provides focus to the campaign, but it's not like it's not the old school method. You know how some publishers will say keyword rankings are dead or like keyword strategy is dead. It's not because you have to build strategy, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes down to it, that's a good place to start. And to get even more specific with keywords is really where's your focus? Because if your focus is we want to rank for everything we do, I would argue that okay, you'll provide good work, but none of it will stick, right? I'm a much bigger advocate of if you're service oriented, pick your top two services, or if you're product oriented, pick your top five margin items. Even if you have 5,000, pick your top five, right? And own that because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to build an automatic lead generator, sales generator, inquiry generator. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Why not your most important services or product? Once you can do that, then you move on to the next thing, right? So for us, there's a big reason why we're not doing video content right now. We could do video content. Like if I deprioritize some of my time on our focus and said, we need to do video, we need to do video, we could do that. But now I'm taking from this focus just to do a thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So for us, the majority of the content on the website right now is our SEO services. We do it, I would argue, some of the best SEO services in the country. And so that's our main focus. We're building our pipeline for that. And then we'll move on to Google ads and digital advertising. We'll move on to web development stuff. We do those things already, but we're talking about SEO primarily, right? So focus is the number one thing, and build your keywords around top two services or top five margin items, whatever you want to do, and go from there. Make them more specific in the beginning. Just because you start working on a keyword doesn't mean Google's going to give you credit for it. And again, the greatest skill is patience. If you choose a 2-word keyword phrase or a 3-word keyword phrase, and you're starting out from scratch, your website's less than a year old, have fun. It's good work, but you're going to have to wait for it. Go after something more specific, right? Um, One of our best phrases that we get business for is SEO packages for small business. What is that? A 5 or 6 keyword phrase, right?
Mhm.
We did a blog for that back in 2019. We still get customers where that's the first page they landed on because it's still on page one.
I want to check this blog post later.
Yeah, there you go. It even looks ugly, Cecilia, because it's from a website. I didn't even read. I
Love
didn't
the
even,
honesty.
yeah, I didn't even update the redesign, right? But like just to use that as an example, it exists. It still ranks on page one. It's 3 years old. It has no business to be on page one. So what does that tell you? The content is good, but
The
when we
contents.
started seeing it get traction 6 months in, it wasn't as built out as it is now. So the moment that we saw traction, what did I do? I reinvested in it, right? I put in more content. I put in more media. I added frequently asked questions. So that's another thing I would recommend too, is if you're a small agency, it is really, really difficult to break that initial glass ceiling of getting found. But if you find traction somewhere, double down on it. Do more on that page, right? Make it more appetizing, because the biggest difficulty for a lot of people to grasp, everybody wants to grasp, I want to get to page one, right? But the biggest difficulty for them to grasp after that is, oh, I hit page one, how do I stay there? Well, you don't stay there by being stagnant. Add more to it, add more resource, right? It's called evergreen content. Make it ever
Yeah.
um, link more to it, like that sort of stuff. So I should be more succinct than I'm being, but basically is
Oh,
have a
go for
focus.
it.
Let your services or product dictate that. Don't try and do everything. Try and do a couple of things really, really well. Start with that. Always build high quality backlinks. Anytime you do publish something, publish it on social channels, share it to other people, reach out to the people that you included in there as external links and say, hey, I wrote about you. Let me know if you want to link back, or like, it's a lot of work, but it's an organic way to build visibility. And then the obvious stuff, like make sure your site loads quickly, fits to all screens, that sort of stuff. And then the aside from focus, the other one is, I would say, have a unique point of view, right? Like
Mhm.
one of our biggest competitors that we competed with at the very beginning, 6 years ago when we started, they get 20 times the monthly traffic we do. We get the same amount of sales.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
We,
awesome.
yeah, with 1/20th of the traffic, we get the same amount of sales. We keep our clients for slightly longer, as far as I know, that sort of stuff.
It's a
And
great case.
yeah, it's because we're not trying to do everything. We're
Uh-huh.
every single thing we write is to one type of person. When that type of person finds it and they read it, they're like, "Yep, that's speaking to me." They're a lot more qualified and a lot more likely to buy. I don't care about the other, 19 people for the one I need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it sounds really it sounds really like egotistical. No, it's not complicating. Like, all that traffic looks cool, but if it doesn't result in moving the business forward, we're really not distracting ourselves with it. We call it shiny stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And I can say that everything that you shared now also applies to our Latin America market.
Right.
But I really want to know, what is your opinion about the quantity versus quality of the blog posts? What does your personal experience tell us?
Yeah, well, I mean, the short answer is, if you can do more always. For me, I would love to do 10 times what I'm doing, but I have other responsibilities here as one of the owners, right? So, what's worked for us is, if we're going to do it, we're going to make sure it's unique and valuable and helpful. So the majority of our blog posts are over 2,000 words. And you can do a whole bunch of research in terms of how long should a blog post be, or how long should content be, or whatever. I kind of cringe at that sort of stuff, because it's like, it's complete. Think of it this way: organic results are query based, they're not money based, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's without the context, without whatever you're doing, speaking to that individual, it doesn't really matter. But what I will say is, there are really good tools out there. If I can drop one tool that I have zero association or affiliation with, that I absolutely love, is Phrase. If you use Phrase, that's a fantastic content, kind of basically the normal manual research you could be doing. Say, I want to write about X, and then you do all your manual research. They do all that research for you in about 5 seconds. And so now you can just get down to writing and saying, okay, the average word count for this keyword phrase, the top 20 results, they average 1,500 words. Well, I'm going to write 1,800, right? Like that sort of stuff. So Phrase, Frase, and that's free promotion for them. I think it's a fantastic tool. So in terms of quality versus quantity, I'll always go quality. Like, you shouldn't be writing anything if it's not quality. That's just kind of a standard. And if you can write more quality posts, like I said, the big guys with hundreds of employees, they're writing daily. So if you can write daily, that's awesome.
Do so.
We're yeah, we're less able to do that. We write once a week, but we make sure it's super impactful.
Nice,
Um,
good to know. So
yeah.
we are getting close into the end. But before answering the questions that came from the audience, can you tell us what tips you can give to marketers who want to improve already existing SEO strategies?
Yeah, good question. I would say, because I know I've been super long-winded and we're like close to time here, I would just say be super authentic, be super unique, be super helpful, right? Like that we actually have a blog post on our site that's I think it says something like top 5 ways for small businesses to behave like big businesses. If you look at any of those big businesses, you're not trying to copy them. They're big for a reason. They got there first. They're doing it better than you. Just own that. Don't think you invented something new unless you actually invented something. Go in there and be helpful, right? Have your unique point of view really helpful. Again, we're not speaking to Fortune 500 companies. We're speaking to small businesses. So I'm not going to be talking about how to go to market and get in, take your company public. That's not what we're talking about. You know what I mean? We're talking about stuff that's relevant to them. So uh, a quick strategy, I would say, just to have one little bit of nugget of helpfulness would be, if you're talking to people already, what are their pain points? That should be where all of your content is driving from. You're not worried about, will this rank in Google? You're worried about, will this speak to an end user? Because all Google's algorithm updates, it's not science. Every single thing Google's doing in their algorithm updates for the last decade has been, how do we serve the user better? So the
Yes.
user can be your primary focus, right?
Yeah.
And then just look at the guidelines so you're not breaking any rules. But if you're thinking about the user, your target, and you're helping them solve a pain point and you follow the rules, that should rank if you do it properly. And then you're going to have a lot more productive conversations than talking to people who wouldn't be high quality buyers for you, is what I would say.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah.
So, going to the questions of our audience, we have 2 questions. I will send it to you. From Pedro Colby, how do you sell the worth of pricing during a client meeting? How do you touch the value of a long-term strategy for someone craving immediate results?
Yeah, it's a good question, and something I would say every agency, especially SEO agency, is going to go through. Um, it's really difficult to be patient. So to answer the first question, I would say we don't push pricing on the first meeting simply because that's that's our MO. Well, like I said, be authentic. If we went away from that and we said, "Oh man, this person, they like what we have to say. We're they're really interested in us. Why not just get them to the pricing stage right away?" We intentionally stop ourselves, right? Um, when people have come into our website and said, "I'm interested in this," and their first question is pricing, I say, "That's great. What I will tell you is our pricing is extremely competitive, but I have a question for you. Are you talking to 3 other agencies right now?" If they don't answer yes, I tell them to talk to our competitors, because
Really?
yeah, because I don't give them specific competitors' names, but I say go do your research, talk to other people, and call me back. Because if you work with us just because you like what I have to say, I don't want to work with you. I want you to work with us because you see the value in what we sell, not me. I'm not Agency Jet. Agency Jet is Agency Jet. What we do is how we are, that's our impact to the market. So if they like the sound of my voice or they think I'm worth trusting or whatever, I'm fine with that if they've talked to other people and have decided that, right? Say, not only do I like what he has to say, but I believe that what I'm going to purchase from them is going to work. That's hugely important to us. Um,
Big deal breaker.
yeah, huge. But that's really difficult for agencies to do, especially when you're just starting out. I'll be honest. I mean, we're humans. We said yes to everybody who wanted to work with us in the beginning. We're at that point now where we're really selective because we
Yeah,
care
yeah.
about working with people for a long time. But I will say the sooner you can do that, the happier you're going to be. It's not, happiness isn't completely dictated by your bottom line. It's dictated by what sort of conversations are you having every day, which goes to the next question. Somebody wants immediate results. Tell them that that's not SEO. Tell them that immediately, right? Um, and say, here's the deal. SEO is the most cost-effective marketing tactic on earth if you do it for over a year, right? It just is
Okay.
because, and this is what I tell clients. So our job is to get the website found. The client's job is once they get there to sell, right? People land on the website. They're the second part of the equation. We're the first part. So obviously we have to do our job and build those numbers with quality people. But if we build that quality and they can't sell, then that affects sales, right? So really what it comes down to is consistent hard work every single month. And if you want immediate results, SEO is not for you. If you're a full service agency, we direct them towards Google ads. We direct them towards, other channels like social media or whatever. But SEO is the most cost-effective tool because if they pay us a flat fee or a monthly fee or whatever, that fee stays the same, but their
Mhm.
visibility goes up, their traffic goes up. So for every single set of eyes they got on the website, it gets cheaper every time they work with us. So, but if you're not willing to wait for that, I actually make a joke, Cecilia. I tell my clients, I say, I know you want to double your business in 6 months. If you know what marketing technique does that, let me know so I can sell it. And
Yeah.
they just start laughing. They just start laughing, just like you are now. Like it's like, okay, I can appreciate you want to double your business in 6 months. Let's be very clear. I want to double your business in 6 months, but I can't promise doubling the business in 6 months for two reasons. I'm not a search engine. Our tools work. I know they do. That's why we have a reputation that we do. But I'm not Google, so I can't guarantee a top
Mhm.
result. And I can't guarantee that you can sell somebody when I get them to you, right?
Mhm.
That's precisely why I mean, just speak to him like a human being. And I like making you laugh right there. I was just like, I get it. You want the moment you work with us, you want to double your business. So do I. But tell me
Yeah,
what,
but
tell me what that tool is so I can sell it. And then I'll charge you
yeah,
as much as I'm charging you right now. It's a
you have
process.
the perfect approach.
Yeah. Like, but I mean, keep in mind, you can't change everybody's mind, right? When you were kind of walk my background, I've had 1,000 clients. They haven't all liked when I've said that, right? Some
Mhm.
people are just, they want that instant result. To me, our role is not satisfying everybody's wants and needs. Our role is explaining what it is they purchased and never deviating from that. Um, because we're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We're just trying to tell them what it is that we offer. And if it sounds good to them, we're going to smash it. If it doesn't
Mhm.
sound good to them, we're not a good fit anyway. So,
Kobe, I have to say that I will start using this approach with my clients. So,
yeah,
but
use that technique. If you
I
know
will.
your business in 6 months, tell me so I can sell it. I've never
I
had
will.
to not laugh when I've said that.
I will. This makes a good connection with them.
Yeah,
But we have only left 8 minutes left, so I will give you a last question, so you can answer quickly.
yeah, I'll go fast. I promise.
So, from Eric, do you think new privacy policies will strike again in 2023, changing the user experience?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I appreciate it, Eric. I would say to be brief, right? Knowing what you guys have heard me talk about the last 15 minutes, I don't really want to be speaking authoritatively on something unless I feel really confident about it. That one's really hard to say for sure. What I will say is watch this space because when it comes to privacy, I mean, there's a reason DuckDuckGo exists, right? They're like Google. If I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard through the grapevine that Google has actually purchased security type stuff from DuckDuckGo. So Google's like the main investor in DuckDuckGo to be around, right? And that's all about privacy searching. So I don't know. I mean, it's 2022 right now, and I feel like privacy is all over the place. So how it's judged from a search engine perspective will be really interesting. What I will say, just from your website perspective, I highly recommend privacy policies. So I don't know if I'm answering your question directly, Eric, but if you don't have a privacy policy on your website, just as a little value add, just search privacy policy template. Can't remember the name of the site we use, but there are a handful of ones that will really help you based on what your business needs. For us, like California laws and stuff. So I would recommend just having it as a safety side. And then another thing, just for your website, accessibility. There are widgets and plugins out there for accessibility on the website. Super important as well, especially if you're a business, because websites are now being seen as an extension of an actual physical location. So if your website isn't accessible, you can technically get sued for that. So just another thing to I'm all over the map with Eric's question, but I'm all about I'm all about free value. So like, do those
That's
things to
cool.
protect yourself. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But don't you worry. So we're getting really close to the end right now, and I have to mention to our audience that this interview uh, were recorded and will be shared with all the attendees. And as you already know, you can see all the past jam sessions that we have in our hub. They are all available there. So, Kobe, I really want to thank you for all the knowledge that you share with us. It was really a big masterclass for me. And please share with the audience where they can find you on the internet and where they can keep in touch with you.
Yeah. For me personally, I would say from a personal reputation point of view, I really only kind of exist on LinkedIn. I have other profiles, but they're all private. So LinkedIn is the best place. It's just my name, of course. And then Agency Jet, we're all over. So Agency Jet is our handle for everything, really no versions of. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, by all means, check us out.
Okay, thank you. Kobe, thank you for on behalf of all rockers and the rock content. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge, and expertise. Thank you to all the participants, to all attendees that we have tonight. And that's it. See you next time on the next jam session.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you. Bye.